Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I have given notice to the Honourable Minister of National Infrastructure and Community Development of a question, and the question is as follows. Whether in regard to the flooding of the 15th of January and 21st of April 2024, he will, for the benefit of the House, obtain from the Land Drainage Authority information as to the number of drains projects implemented and completed, including the Atruisseau du Pouce, Monseigneur Line, Canal d'Aillot, La Butte, and Les Salines, an additional outlet from Place d'Armes to Caudan, indicating the cost, name of the contractors, and starting and completion dates thereof. B, state the measures taken by government to mitigate the impact thereof. And C, state if consideration will be given for a dedicated complaints desk to be put in place for the fast tracking of compensation to be paid to all victims.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish at the very first instance to express my sympathy and solidarity and that of the government to all the families affected by the flooding of the 21st April 2024. The House will appreciate that the question of the Leader of the Opposition is quite broad, and for the benefit of the House and in the interest of the population, it requires a comprehensive and detailed reply, so please bear with me. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a fact that with climate change, we are witnessing extreme weather conditions across the world.
My good friend, the Honourable Minister, has stated that he has to be comprehensive. I totally agree. But the standing orders say that you, Mr. Speaker, have control not on the contents of the question, the answer, but you have control over relevance. That is in our standing orders. So I would like you, Mr. Speaker, to pay very much attention to what is being said.
I disregard your point of order. You're giving me order. You are giving me, you say, I would like you to pay much attention.
It's a request.
Stop there, you continue. There is no request in point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I rule. I have already ruled.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. As said again, I'll start this paragraph again. It is a fact that with climate change, we are witnessing extreme weather conditions across the world. Not far back as last week, Dubai, Oman, Pakistan, and the Republic of China, which is this morning, I've learned it as est passé en alerte rouge, among others, have been severely hit by heavy rainfall, which caused unprecedented flooding, and in some cases, even leading to casualties. Mauritius, being one of the vulnerable small island states, has unfortunately not been spared. The highest rainfalls recorded, as per the Mauritius Meteorological Services, on 15 January 2024 and 21st April 2024 are as follows. 15 January, Albion, 133.4 millimeters. Beaubassin, 140. Belle Village, 107. Chitrakoot, 143. Moka, 150. Nouvelle Découverte, 156. Providence, 174. Quatre-Bonnes, 164. Port-Louis, Champ-de-Mars, 123. Rivière-Noire, 78. On the 21st April 2024, Albion recorded 302. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a record level of rainfall intensity in the region of Albion. Domaine-les-Pailles, 232. Champ-de-Mars, 194. Beaubassin, 190. Belle Village, 183. Moka, 165. Chitrakoot, 163. Port-Louis, 162. Nouvelle Découverte, 119. Richter, 103. Quatre-Bonnes, 102. Mr. Speaker, sir, the main regions impacted in January 2024 were Caudan, La Bourdonnais Street, Paille, Trengba, Vallée-Piteux, Canal d'Aillot, Place d'Armes, La Chaussée Street, La Poudrière Street, Motorway M1, City Center, Monseigneur Line, Vallée des Prêtres, and Le Cornu, Sainte-Croix. Whereas on the 21st April 2024, the main regions impacted were Port-Louis, Trengba, Carolalo, Vallée des Prêtres, Pointe-aux-Sables, Richelieu, Canal d'Aillot, Albion, Geoffroy-Bambou, Meldrum-Beaubassin, Coromandel, and Belle Village, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, on several occasions, I have stated in this August Assembly itself that government has taken bold initiatives to provide an unprecedented budget of 11.7 billion for the implementation of the National Flood Management Program, which has been prepared during the elaboration of the Land Drainage Master Plan. With regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed that as at 31st March 2024, under the National Flood Management Program, on a total of 1,742. And here, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to highlight that during the preparation of the Land Drainage Master Plan in July 2021, we identified 1,400 projects. And now, it has become 1,742, which means we are here dealing with a very dynamic situation. And these 1,742 projects are deemed to be implemented over a period of 5 financial years. 539 projects to the tune of 3.8 billion have been completed as a date. Some 114 projects for a total amount of 3.3 billion are ongoing. That is their work on site. And are at different stage of construction. Moreover, 150 drain projects for an estimated amount of 2.8 billion are at bidding stage. If we want an ordre de grandeur, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the year 2005 to 2014, there was only 3.8 billion rupees were spent. That is, this government has spent in 3 years what they took 10 years to execute. It is to be noted that 737 million under the NFMP was disbursed for the financial year 21-22 and 1.6 billion for the financial year 22-23 and 1.5 billion for the financial year 23-24. The Land Drainage Authority has identified so far 306 flood-prone areas, of which 62 have been declared high-risk flood-prone. 20 projects in those high-risk flood-prone have been completed. 13 are under construction, and another 10 are at bidding stage. The implementation of the National Flood Management Program falls under 4 bodies, namely the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited, the National Development Unit, the Road Development Authority, and the local authorities is spearheaded by the Land Drainage Authority. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to emphasize that climate adaptation is not a one-off undertaking for this government or any other government for that purpose, but it is a long-term planning and implementation of various programs. In this respect, I wish to reiterate that my ministry has already implemented 539 RAID projects and not 34 projects or any other number which is being misreported. In fact, for financial year 22-23, 34 new drain projects were awarded for implementation by NDU only. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that Port Louis is bordered, as we know, by the mountain range upstream and is in fact a trough that is a cuvette by nature of its topography, and downstream it is bordered by the sea. Accordingly, the discharge of surface runoff is highly dependent on the tidal level. In event of a concurrent scenario of a torrential rain and storm surge, the evacuation of floodwaters is inhibited due to the fact of tidal locking. This causes a rapid rise in the water level in the low points, namely La Poudrière Street, Codan, and La Chaussée Street. Mr. Speaker, sir, all the possible scenarios for flood mitigation measures have been investigated, and the following structural measures have been recommended to mitigate the flooding in the city center of Port-Louis. Ruisseau du Pouce, raising of existing bank walls varying from 0.5 meters to 3 meters at different locations. Reconstruction of several bridges across Ruisseau du Pouce, including Gayasing Bridge and 2 bridges in Codan premises. Demolition of Baden-Powell Bridge. Demolition of the cover slab on Ruisseau du Pouce from Majestic Cinema to La Chaussée Street, the Hawkers area. Relocation of services hindering flow along Ruisseau du Pouce. Demolition of the existing slab covering Ruisseau du Pouce. Making good and reinstate the existing canal, including the bedding, jointing, etc. Monseigneur-Lin, La Butte, and Les Salines. Second, construction of RC-covered drain along Monseigneur-Lin over a stretch of approximately 860 meters. Construction of RC-covered drain along Old Mocha Road over a stretch of approximately 535 meters. Construction of RC-covered drain along Paul Fercy Adèle Street. Construction of RC-covered drain along A1 Road over a stretch of approximately 875 meters. Upgrading of open drain adjacent to court building across Menagerie Road up to existing drain along motorway M1 to an RC canal of dimension 1 meter wide and 1 meter deep. Construction of RC-covered drain varying from 500 to 1,500 millimeters wide by 500 to 1,200 millimeters deep in the region of Les Salines. Construction of RC-covered drain at Codan Roundabout up to the sea outlet. And thirdly, Canal d'Ailleux, reconstruction of Roussel Bridge, raising of wall on both banks at Canal d'Ailleux, desilting of the Canal d'Ailleux itself, extension of an internal drains and installation of flap valve at the outlet to prevent backflows. Place d'Orme to Codan. Fourth, construction of an additional outlet drain of 55 meters and size 2,000 millimeter by 600 millimeter across Port-Louis waterfront. Construction of a new flap valve and relocation of services. Reinstatement works to enable the placing of a high-volume submersible pump to allow the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services to evacuate water in extreme conditions. Moreover, for Codan, in the context of the metro project, 2 drain projects of size 2 meter by 1 meter and over a stretch of 120 meters have already been implemented. Mr. Speaker, sir, the impact of flooding noted on the 21st April 2024 was much lesser as compared to the flooding event of 30 March 2013 at Codan. In 2013, along motorway M1, a flood mark of 90 millimeters was recorded, causing several vehicles to be trapped and also causing loss of life. Whereas in 21st April 2024, a flood mark of around 20 centimeters was recorded for a higher rain intensity. These outcomes bear testimony that all our efforts geared towards mitigating flooding in the region of Port-Louis have been effective. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part A1, 2, and 3 of the question, the honourable member will appreciate that the information sought in respect of the list of contractors involved in each of the 539 completed projects with the cost of each project as well as the starting and completion date is quite voluminous and is time-consuming exercise. I will accordingly table the required information as a later stage as this is being compiled. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part B of the question, this government is sparing no effort to implement any technically feasible measures to mitigate flooding problems in Mauritius. It is for the first time ever that a government has commissioned a land drainage master plan for Mauritius, and again, it is this government that has provided such an unprecedented budget to implement the National Flood Management Program. The problem of flooding is being looked into a scientific and holistic manner as opposed to a piecemeal and localized approach. The world is facing dramatic changes of climate change, where each and every year records in terms of temperature and torrential rain are being registered. Accordingly, full avoidance of flooding is not feasible. It is greatly related to climate-related impacts. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to stress that strategically it is incorrect to talk about avoidance, but rather mitigation, as it is the case worldwide. I wish to reiterate that there is no dry feet policy to combat flooding events. No government can eliminate the impact or the risk of flooding and climate change. We can only implement mitigating measures and protect lives of our citizens. And this is what we have been doing with the 539 projects. As a proactive measure, the LDA has been nominated in the following committees: the Land Conversion Committee, the Mo-Selma Board, the EIA Committee. The LDA also advises the local authorities in the processing of BLUPs. All future developments are being examined in respect of the land use planning, and appropriate recommendations are issued accordingly. Mr. Speaker, sir, much has also been said about the number of projects so far implemented, which is deemed to be a slow progress. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, dealing with flooding is not like having, to borrow the word of my GM of the RDA, it's not a set of question papers where you have 10 questions and you tick them all and then you are done. Here, we are into mitigation. It's a fight against climate change. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to point out that the challenges encountered in the implementation of projects, namely issues related to land acquisition and successful bidding exercise, and way leaves have resulted in unpredictable delays. However, despite these constraints, my ministry, and in particular the LDA, are sparing no effort to achieve the desired outcome in building resilience to flooding problems. Furthermore, it is noteworthy that the design parameters are reviewed by the LDA on a regular basis to adapt to the dynamic of climate change. Innovative measures are thus being introduced and implemented, such as detention basins, sustainable urban drainage system, and major cut-off swales. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that despite all constraints I have enumerated so far, I'm satisfied that the projects completed by the implementing agencies, that is the NDU, the RDA, the DICL, and the local authorities, have given the desired outcomes. For instance, in the recent past, the region of Saint-Jean was adversely impacted during heavy rainfall, and this was subject to a PNQ in November last. In fact, my ministry has implemented measures in a very short span of time, which have proven to be effective. In spite of 102 millimeters of rainfall recorded on the 21st April 2024 in the region of Quatre-Bornes, both the Saint-Jean Cemetery and the inhabitants downstream along Colville and Broad Avenues have been protected against inundation. Certainly, road users have not forgotten
Honourable Minister, don't refer to Quatre-Bornes. I think this question refers to Port Louis area.
No, it includes.
Continue with that.
Mr. Speaker, sir, but the question also asks me specific answers about Port Louis, but it's a very general one. Let's talk about. Mr. Speaker, sir, certain road users have not forgotten their calvaire due to the flooded bridges at Anjoncé, Tatamaka, Saint-Denis, Samarel, Soisy Bridge, at Poste de Flac, to mention a few. In addition, the following projects are either ongoing or in the pipeline by the RDA, namely Roussel Bridge at Canal d'Aïeux, Brunecal Bridge, culvert on motorway M1 near Food Canners, and STR Marketing, Four-Pied Bridge, Pamplemousse, additional outlets at Codan, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, major retention basins have been constructed to contain substantial overland flow and this was done a bit all over the island. Mr. Speaker, sir, several residential flood-prone areas are located downstream of major agricultural land and mountain slopes. Conventional drainage infrastructure will not be able to contain the flooding problems. To that effect, major cut-off swales have been designed and being implemented in several localities across the island once again. Mr. Speaker, sir, slopes and embankment along our roads are other features which are severely impacted by floods, and this may endanger the lives and livelihood of our citizens and the road users. We have not ignored this aspect, and constantly we are implementing measures to stabilize slopes. To mention a few, the recent work which have been successfully completed and which have stood the test of recent floods are landslide at Chamarel, at Rivière-des-Créoles, Baclaz-Suyac. There has also been rock purging at Makonde. In addition, similar works at Rivière-des-Anguilles and Chamarel are ongoing. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will now elaborate on measures initiated in the region which have been impacted during the rainfall of Sunday last and which I have mentioned earlier. These include drain works at Raoul Rivette Street and Lord Kitchener, raising of wall along Ruisseau du Pouce, construction of bridges at Maire-Barthélemy and Labrilane Street, demolition of slab and other structures, raising of walls along Ruisseau du Pouce, Créole, upgrading of work along La Poudrière Street, raising of the wall at Canal d'Aillot, drain works at Cité Mauvillac and Sorez, upgrading of drains at Mamelon Vert, Vallée-Pitot, extension of drain along Inkerman Street, Vallée-Pitot.
Is it a point of order you're raising? You have to ask me. You have to intimate. Please listen to me first. Please listen to me first. You have to intimate your question, your point of order. I should know that it is a point of order. You cannot, like in a discussion, in a speech or whatever, in a reply, just stand up or shout and. This is not parliamentary. This is not parliamentary behavior, honourable leader of the opposition. Try to be polite. That's all.
Mr. Speaker, could you please try to take into consideration?
No, you can't do that. You must say this is a point of order. I listen to your point of order. You can't engage a conversation with the speaker. You can't do that. You're a seasoned lawyer. Quiet here. You are a seasoned lawyer. You should know how to address the speaker. Please.
Could you please, therefore, on the point of order, he has taken more than 23 minutes out of 30. Could you please...
This is not a point of order. This is my jurisdiction. You're questioning my jurisdiction. No. You keep quiet. Let the minister continue. The minister continue.
Mr. Speaker, sir, beside structural work I've mentioned so far, cleaning and desilting our watercourse have also been undertaken to mitigate inundation due to riverine flooding. And so far, we have desilted 160 kilometers of rivers, which involve Ruisseau du Pouce, Latanier, Rivoulette-Terrouge, and many others. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part C of the question, as the honourable member is aware, the issue of compensation of victims of flooding does not fall under the purview of my ministry. This concerns other authorities, and I'm informed that there are well-established procedures for payment of compensation. For instance, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that as at 9 a.m. this morning, 735 persons have requested for assistance for compensation. However, I wish to highlight that irrespective of the compensation payable to affected families and depending on the nature and the severity of each case, appropriate additional support is provided to these persons. For example, in the case of affected person at Temba, the Honorable Prime Minister himself had a meeting met the families yesterday, and necessary measures are being undertaken to provide appropriate support and relief to them. There couldn't be any faster track than this, than being received by the Prime Minister himself. And here, I wish to assure the House that every possible measure will be undertaken in consultation with these families. On a concluding note, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are at war with the challenges of climate change, and we should all rally behind the Prime Minister and the government to win this war. And there is no space for cheap political gain or voters trying to use those families for their political gain. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, he has taken 26 minutes. I hope that you will exercise your discretion to give me some more time to put 5 important questions of national importance on the issue of flooding.
You cannot quantify your questions. You start by one.
Mr. Speaker, is the Honourable Minister saying that the Director of Audit, in his report, when he says, I quote at page 348, that only 34 drains during the financial year 2022-2023, only 34 drains contracted were awarded for 457 million compared to 84 contracts awarded in the preceding financial year, and that significant funds remain unspent, several projects are not being implemented, and it goes on to say at page 349, out of 72 projects identified in high-risk flood-prone areas, 26 were transferred to DICL and 1 to RDA. No project was transferred to local authorities, and the director goes on to describe how everything is slow in terms of implementation, and it says the slow implementation of projects implies that these projects were not made available to citizens on a timely basis. This thus may cause harm to the population. Is this report of the Director of Audit where he condemns and says that there's been failure at the level of the Honourable Minister's ministry and departments, is he saying that the Director of Audit is wrong?
Now, don't indulge in any debate. You already put 3 questions. If you don't know, you have put 3 questions. Let the Minister answer.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I've already given all the details of what my ministry has spent over different financial years. And as at date, we have already implemented 539 projects. I don't want to repeat myself. The honourable member may take a point of order. But then, as I've said already, that the only place I see the 34 was 34 new projects. There are also so many other projects ongoing being implemented. And I've already also mentioned about the difficulties that we sometimes have to allocate contract, where there is the wayleave issue, there's the land acquisition issue that takes its own time. Very often we have challenges that we have to defend in court. So we have to deal with all this. And despite all, in the proper procedures are being respected, we follow all required procedures, and projects are being implemented. Regarding projects being allocated to local authorities, this is not my ministry that allocate projects to local authorities. They have their own set of projects. They request funding with the LDA to implement their project. They have their own set of projects. I can't be held liable for what hasn't been done at the level of local authorities.
Mr. Speaker, on the 28th of March 2023, the Honourable Omir, as well as on the 15th of March of this year, Honourable Osman Mohamed, both wrote one to the Honourable Minister, the first one, whereby the issue of Wisodupus and the danger represented precisely to those houses, the house that has Kiasede, those people many houses, because of the work going on in Wisodupus that is being wrongly done. There was a petition that was also sent to the Honourable Minister back in 2023. And this year, on the 15th of March, Honourable Mohamed wrote an email to the PPS, Honourable Mayotte, whereby both have been both those correspondences, which I beg leave to table, with all the photographs that were sent to you, Honourable Minister, and Honourable PPS, both have been left unattended. Therefore, could you please explain to the House why is it that ever since last year, there has been no supervision whatsoever with regards to those projects that have led to those houses being affected, and the damage and prejudice and criminal negligence against those people is at your footstep, Honorable Minister. Could you please therefore apologize at least to those people?
Please, I stop you there. I stop you there. The minister hasn't had to apologize, anything.
Mr. Speaker, sir, firstly, I haven't received any of those letters the Honorable Leader of Opposition is talking about. They may love as much as they want. We have a dispatch book. Whenever letters are received, someone needs to be signed, so we are well recorded. We know we can retrace whatever, and I invite the Leader of the Opposition to come and check for himself the dispatch book of the ministry, firstly. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, whether there have been negligence or not, my ministry has already set up an independent committee that will be led by the engineers of the National Infrastructure Division of the ministry, also by the engineers of the NDA, to investigate on the whole matter. You will agree that this may also involve eventually the insurance of the contractor or that of the consultant. So at this point, I don't think it will be proper for me to comment on this, as it may hinder the inquiry and eventually a procès en cours. So I don't want that eventually whatever I say in Parliament may become part of the case eventually. I'll let the engineers advise accordingly the report, and then if we need to share the report with the Parliament, we will do so.
Mr. Speaker.
I'm over.